So you won the primary, and then you're facing Richard Headley, the author of the Headley Amendment.
Tough election.
Was passed by the voters in 1978.
Right.
And November '82, you were still on board, still
with,
doing the
now
same
I was
stuff.
full time. The mayor, Coleman Young, I call him the old man. The old man was all the way in. When Brickley didn't get the Republican nomination,
Headley beat him in the primary.
Headley beat him in the primary. Coleman Young then said, okay, I'm pulling out all the stops. So now the entire Coleman Young machine, which really was at its zenith then, was available. And Jim Blanchard got 390,000 votes out of the city of Detroit.
Yeah.
Crushed Dick Headley.
Yeah.
But it was close everywhere but Detroit, and Detroit really delivered, and it was surprising the ferociousness of the turnout. The old man, that last month, was with Blanchard in church every Sunday.
This is Coleman Young.
This is Coleman Young.
Yeah.
He was with him every night. So you think about this. Jim Blanchard and I had been going to these churches, you know, and I'm driving my literally driving a AMC Rambler.
Well, George Romney would have liked it.
And I love that little car, man. And but when the old man came, Blanchard's sitting in the limousine with the old man. We're running red lights. We got an entourage, man, you know, of 10 cars. It's like the president showing up.
Sure, absolutely.
And the old man was at the zenith of his power. So he walks in with Blanchard. I mean, you know, the show stops.
Yeah, absolutely.
The great scene that I remember, we were in St. James Missionary Baptist Church, and the Reverend James Nix, God bless him, passed away soon thereafter. One of the great church musicians that the world has ever produced. On a par, and some of your viewers will know this name, Kirk Franklin. On a par, Bill, with now Kirk Franklin. So we're in St. James Missionary Baptist Church. On the stage is Don Riegel, Coleman Young, Jim Blanchard, John Dingell, John Conyers. I mean, the whole aristocracy of the Democratic Party is in this church. So James has really got it going, man. The whole church is rocking. Everybody's clapping, and Don Riegel is offbeat. Jim Blanchard turns to him, and the whole church is watching, and gets him on beat.
On beat.
Man,
wow.
Listen.
Impressive.
The house came down.
They really.
The house came down. And then Blanchard turns back around, man, and this is a song he knows.
Yeah.
So he's singing and he's clapping and he's just having the time of his life, man. And I will always remember that
scene.
Always.
Okay,
always.
So Blanchard beats Headley. He's elected governor. He goes to Lansing. You go to Lansing, right?
I go to Jim Blanchard now. Remember, he's 40 years old, and he really rolls in, man, with the kiddie core. I'm 29. I'm his legal advisor and his legislative director. Bob Bowman rolls in. He's the state treasurer. He's 27. His deputy is Jay Rising. He's 26. I mean, really, LaWand was 39. He was the chief of staff. I mean, we were really, you know, we were coming to take Lansing. Rick Cole was with us.
Sure.
We were coming to take Lansing by storm. And those first couple of years, man, we had a ball.
Well, now, were you living in Lansing? Or
living
did you
in
commute?
Lansing.
You were
I lived
living
in Lansing.
So you're up there for 2 years during the start of the Blanchard administration.
Right.
So you didn't stay there indefinitely, though, did you?
No.
Your role was what? You were general counsel
I was the
and
legal
head of
advisor.
legislative affairs?
Exactly. So It was a great job. I always remember this. Frank Kelly came to see me and Blanchard, and he always called me Connie. He said, Connie, you know, this legal affairs person ain't much of a job. And Blanchard's the governor, man. He's sitting at his desk. Kelly and I are sitting on the other hand. And Stan Steinborn, remember Stan?
Oh, yes.
Love Stan.
Absolutely.
So Stan's with him.
Yeah.
And so it's the four of us in there. He said, it ain't much of a job. Really ain't much of a job for you. Because you know, the governor's legal advisor is the Attorney General. And Romney had a legal advisor, but he and I came to an agreement that the legal advisor to the governor would be sworn in as a special assistant to the Attorney General.
Oh, okay. All right.
So he said, raise your right hand. And he swore me in as a special assistant,
really? Okay.
as an Attorney General,
That's a great
thus allowing me to remain the governor's legal advisor, with allowing Frank to not maintain the fiction, but to always say, no, I'm the governor's legal advisor. And one of my guys, Conrad Mallett, is in his office. And what I did, actually, though, was take that opportunity very seriously, and I met with Stan 3 times a week. And we, Bill, went over everything. Why not take advantage of one of the greatest lawyers the state of Michigan ever produced? Why not give the governor the best legal advice that he could get? So I began most of my sentences when it came to be giving James Blanchard legal advice with, I talked with Stanley and we agreed. You say that to any elected official, I talked with Stanley and we agreed. That's a very powerful recommendation that what you're about to say is the right thing to do. I talked with Stanley and we don't think you should do X or Y. Well, that's a really firm no, don't do it that way. It was great. I mean, I took Frank at his word. I was proud to be one of the Attorney General's special assistants, and my relationship with Stanley Steinborn really, man, was one of the most important relationships I've ever had in my life.
Let me ask you one question. One of the first things that confronted you was the terrible budget situation in 1983, and you were Director of Legislative Affairs, and as you know, in the spring of '83, there was the fateful vote on raising the state income tax, leading eventually to recalls of 2 Democratic senators late in the year and Republican takeover of the Senate with a new majority leader named, I hate to say it,
John Engler.
John Engler. And guess what? The Democrats have never regained control of a state Senate. How do you look back at the decision then on raising the state income tax, the recalls, and what happened?
2 things. I think that if the governor were sitting here, he would agree with me that we had no choice, 1. 2, we also did not fully understand the necessity to reform the government. I mean, hindsight being 2020, what we also should have done was really examine how the state of Michigan was doing business and really take John Engler at his word that we were spending too much money on things that were not adding value. The calculus was that everything that we were doing was right. The governor was, having grown up in a single-parent home and been poor a large section of his life, was not interested, Bill, in getting rid of general assistance. He was not interested in cutting people off. I think were we to be confronted with it again, we would have sought humane ways to modify the program. But nobody had that much insight into it then. And none of us knew that the economy was as fragile as it was and never really would return to this boom time that we were used to. And finally, I think that we anticipated the loss of Phil Marston, who went on to become the superintendent of schools. Blanchard always held him in very, very high esteem. It was the hardest thing to do. We knew that
he was one of the 2 Democratic senators who was recalled.
Right.
And the loss of the Senate
then complicated the rest of our lives.
It did.
No question about it.
Did that help maybe facilitate your decision to leave at the end of 1984 and come back to Detroit?
No, I was, and you will understand this analogy. When you're a member of one political family, you're always a member of that political family. Coleman Young called me and actually sent Malcolm Day to see me and the governor to say, look, we got a tough race coming in '85. We really need Conrad to come home and manage this, and we really need him to come home now and put everything that needs to be in place. So it was a directive, and I think that the governor and I were both sad, but there was no point in starting a war with Coleman Young over me saying, well, I'm not going to go. That would have injured the governor, that would have injured me, that would have strained the already fragile relationship that Blanchard had with Coleman Young. And I wasn't sad, Bill, to leave or sad to be going home. It was part of my responsibility as being a senior member of the team. And so there was another set of responsibilities that I had to carry out. And so
so you came back and you helped Coleman get reelected.
Right.
And then what?
You know, the campaign was over. The mayor had been reelected. You know, the whole Tom Barrow thing for all of us had been a real strain. I mean, as much as people wanted to write him off, Bill, he ran a fairly decent campaign. The election outcome was never close, but you know, remember he demanded a recall. It was just a lot of stuff with this guy, and really frayed everybody's nerves. And so when it was over, and if we got done with the campaign right around Christmas time, I was really looking around. I had kind of come and done for the mayor what the leadership of the city political machinery had asked me to do, which was be sure that the mayor got reelected. And I didn't think I had much of a contribution to make to the mayor anymore. And so when I told him he was leaving, you know, he was sad to see that I was leaving. He was sad to see me go, but only a little. He gave me a party at the house. He gave me a resolution and all of that. I had Conrad Mallett Jr. Day. And all, so it was.
I think he probably really did miss
a perfectly appropriate send-off.
You wanted to stay on your good side, I think. So you went off into the private sector.
So I joined Tom LeWand at Jaffe Rate, and he had started a division at Jaffe Rate, which had not done public finance law before, a public finance department, which I joined. And we went in and we were doing really good work. We had obviously municipal clients who needed to work with the state of Michigan. Ed McNamara had just been elected was it re-elected or elect? I think it was re-elected in '86 or elected in '86.
He was elected in '86.
Elected in '86.
Taken over for Bill Lucas.
That's it, right. Taken over for Bill Lucas. So then, you know, I then meet one of the great friends that I developed over the course of time, Mike Duggan. Mike Duggan hires me and LeWand to work with him both on the public financing associated with getting Wayne County out of debt and to help manage both the governor's office and the legislative response to Ed McNamara's request that we raise parking fees and hotel fees in order to help Wayne County get out of its then massive $400 million budget. So we do that, do it successfully, kind of starts me and LeWand off in a really, really positive note. Wayne County stays a good client of the firm. Ed McNamara, Mike Duggan stay really good personal friends of ours. And we're floating along, and floating in that we're doing the job of lawyers. It's not overly exciting, but we're both building a small amount of personal net worth. My family was very young then, so you know we're working hard, following the American dream. Things are going fine. The governor comes up for election in '89, right? 88, 90. We all get the feeling that this is going to be tougher than anybody had anticipated. You know, the governor had gone through some personal changes in his life. The Martha Griffith thing had not been handled well at all.